It was a cold day in October, raindrops tickling the windshield of a green SUV. The driver sighed as he gazed across the road, searching for his turn. The GPS had gone dead half an hour ago, and the man had to resort to a wrinkled map he'd picked up at the gas station. The dirt road had gone increasingly bumpy, and was starting to resemble a mudslide rather than a real road. The man's daughter sat in the back of the car. She slid over to the window on the right, and watched the wild plant life in the hopes of catching a glimpse of a moose or a squirrel. Suddenly, she noticed something that didn't belong in the wilderness.
"Dad, pull over!"
she exclaimed. The driver lifted his chin and talked over his shoulder. "What is it, Alice?"
"There's a car there. What if they broke down? What if they're stuck out there?"
The father shivered and stopped the car. The thought of it gave him nightmares, what with all the bears in the woods. "Fine," he grumbled, as he laid the map on the dashboard and started putting on his rain vest. Too late did he realize his daughter was doing the same thing. He heard her door click open. "Alice, wait!" he shouted, but the young girl was already outside, knee-deep in the mud. The dad hastily jumped out of the car and grabbed her by the shoulders. "Don't ever do that again," he said, gazing about the side of the forest, wondering what lay behind the darkness between the trees. "You don't know what kind of creatures are out there."
"There's bears,"
she remarked.
"and dire wolves and moose."
"Just stop, Alice," the dad said, rain streaming down the yellow plastic of his coat. "That isn't very reassuring." He strolled towards the other car, his soggy boots making a disgusting sucking noise in the mud with every step. It was a Land Rover, pretty fit for the terrain. The daughter kept close, curious as to what they might find inside the weather-worn vehicle. When they got closer, they noticed the door at the passenger side was wide open, the wind nearly pulling it out of its haunches. There were cuts in the seat and the car paint, probably by claws, the man figured. Large claws, belonging to a ferocious beast. Alice tried the other doors and found them opening with ease. Her father was bending over the passenger seat and investigating the dashboard. There was a wallet lying there. It belonged to a certain Derek P. Wallace. The picture on his ID showed a middle-aged man with a goatee and a golden smile. The key was still there, as if the driver was strolling about not far from here and wanted to be able to leave any second. The moulded sandwich on the driver's seat, however, told a long time had gone by since this rover had seen a human face. Perhaps Wallace had found himself unable to get the car out of the sludge and fell prey to a grizzly. Luckily, there was no blood or corpse nearby. That would have been the last thing the father wanted his daughter to see.
"Hey, Dad!"
Alice exclaimed.
"Look what I found!"
She paced towards him, covering a small object with her plastic raincoat. It took a while for the father to recognize the item, as it seemed alien to this dark and grim environment. A little brown teddy bear. Alice tried her best to protect the toy from rain and dirt.
"Do you think someone is missing this?"
The father grimaced. He'd have to ask around in town whether anybody knew Wallace when he arrived. There were no traces of a kid in the unfortunate soul's wagon, so whoever owned that bear must have been either Wallace himself or a child eagerly awaiting him. "Come on, we'll put it in the trunk," he replied. "Perhaps we can find the owner." If Wallace did have a kid waiting, he could return the toy and soften the bad news. Alice skipped over to the SUV and opened the trunk, carefully laying down the bear between the spare tires and the illegal DVDs her dad was transporting. They hurriedly got back in the car, the danger of bears or dire wolves becoming more pressing on Dad's mind every second. They were well on their way again, in mere minutes, and the man sighed reassured as they passed another sign indicating their long-anticipated destination wasn't all that far anymore. That reassurance disappeared in seconds when the car came to a sudden stop. The tip of the car was slowly rising whilst the rear end was sinking down in the mud. almost as if the weight was being added to the back, pushing it down into the succulent waist.
Dad?
Alice asked, very clear in her voice.
Why did we stop?
I don't know. I'll take a look, he answered, terrified.
What was that growling noise?
She continued. He turned his head to see a looming shadow in the trunk, slowly rising to reach over the passenger's headrest. Honey, he said, eyes locked on the monstrosity that grew rapidly. Get out of the car and run.
Don't trust Teddy Bear.